grand afternoon. Oh dear me. Why somebody needs to be dumb, wrong and stupid. ARC. True Brit news. This is ridiculous. I've just been standing under a tree for a bit because it started raining out of nowhere. It was good. As the clouds begin to break, it's only for 10 minutes, but it's breaking nicely. And through the clouds, the rain clouds, as they disperse, right at the top of them, or high above them, you can see the bitches are still chemtrailing, which is a bit disappointing. The reason why I've mentioned the chemtrailing in some respects, it's part of the True Brit news, kind of, but I think it's more related to ARC. I think many of my last posts have really been related to ARC as I think about it, as ARC is concerned with a renaissance, not of albinism, but not Albanians either, although that's where some of that comes from, the notion of Albion. But it's an ancient name for these islands before the imposters, colonizers came and started the shenanigans that we see up until to this day. But what were those shenanigans really all about? Was it really all about trade? In some ways, yes. Was it about increasing empire? Oh, absolutely. Was it about encouraging the acceptance of a white, if you like, a politically and sort of legally white Western world? I'm going to say yes. I know it looks a little, everybody, and that's part of the uncomfortable conversation that we need to have between, and actually when I think about it, I've been saying it for years, I've been saying it for decades in fact, whilst I've been teaching in counselling and psychotherapy. When I was doing that, I used to talk about it. Race and racism are, well, not just race and racism, racism, sexism, age and ageism, religion, and to a lesser degree, politics. Okay, are all difficult subject matter that we avoid. Now, I'm beginning to appreciate that this avoidance is not by accident, it's by design. We're meant to avoid having that difficult conversation because the shit's so apparent in your face. There are many quotes that talk about, you can tell how civilized this society is by the way it treats its women. This is me, it doesn't say this. Minorities, it doesn't say that, but women, its children, and its prisoners. So, where am I on this topic? I've gone a bit deeper today. I'm going to go a bit deeper on the notion of, I'm just going to have to call them true Brits. And what I mean by a true Brit is those that are indigenous and aboriginal, and organic to the land, custodians of the land, as is written, not by me, I ain't writing shit, as is in your Christian Bible, as an example, as in what's in the museums, which are basically just what would they be? Warehouses for colonial that shows off the spoils of war by colonialists, whilst they dispossess people of their artifacts, their lands, and the resources within those lands, and disperse the people all over the globe under the guise of free enterprise. And moving people all over the place, all over the shop, to the point that they don't know who they are. Seemingly. Don't know who they are. Who's the they that I'm talking about? I am talking about those people that are clearly indigenous and aboriginal, not just to these islands, not just to the Americas, not just to Europe, not just to Australasia, and not just to Africa, but the whole fucking planet. And it's pretty obvious to see, but the game that's been played, the scheme that has been implemented, has been played out, based upon an ideology, a eugenics ideology, the idea that one race is superior to another, is failing. But as it fails, it shows up who the participants of that scheme is, and why, you know, I suppose it's not me that brings up race, it's white people that bring up race. It's the people that created this notion of race and racism, or the people that have at least managed the scheme and benefited from the scheme. They're the ones, which includes this idea that one race is superior to the other, in order to implement the scheme that exists upon the planet, which means, as an example, that people in Gaza, Palestinian Christians and Muslims, just to bring in the religious bit, getting slaughtered live on TV, malnutrition. Doesn't it remind you of those who are old enough, of what was going on in the 70s with the Biafran war, allegedly? It's not the first time what we've seen in Gaza. I mean, they tried that shit out originally in the 70s. They've been preparing to do what it is that they've done. And they that I'm talking about, oh yes, your white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, your Zionists, and their followers. I want to quickly talk about their followers, because their followers are the people that are seeking, or that are on the way here, those ones that are seeking to gain citizenship, which basically means a slave, just to say. You're a slave to the corporation. That's what citizen means. You're a member of the corporate entity that creates the conditions, decides the conditions for citizenship. These corporations came to be, I suppose, de jure, as far as they're concerned, 1913, around that area, with the implementation, or the meeting, yeah, what it's called now, Berlin Conference, which was a grab for Africa, so they say, but it was where they decided to divide up shit. Can I just also, that's 1947. But one has to acknowledge that prior to that, they'd already conquered and or were in the process of finishing off colonizing what has become, what was good later to become such a situation for it to become Pakistan and India, which was originally called Hindustan at that time. So yeah, sorry about the sunshine and stuff, it's very brightened up.
I'm very moist at the minute. Hot and wet in it. Yeah, absolutely. It rained on me, and now it's warming up, so steam coming off me. Hot and moist, or is good if you're with the ladies, but on your own, not so much fun. Well, it depends what you're doing, I suppose. Okay, right, let's get out the main road here. So, what I'm here to really talk about, I'm 10 minutes in, a bit of waffle there. Let's get to the point. The recent migrant communities that are here now, that have started to flood into the country since 2019, but have been a steady influx since 2014. Is it 2014 when the Tories got in? Whenever that was? Was it then? Or maybe even before then? But there's been a slow and steady increase of Eastern European migrants and migration from the Indian subcontinent, from the African, I'm going to say Middle Eastern, down to Central Africa, and more recently white South Africa, in terms of the white South Africans that are returning to Europe, returned to America actually, but I suspect that they're going to be bouncing their way back to wherever it is that they came from originally, Holland, and I think they're going to get bounced from there back to wherever it is that they came from, because without the movement then of what I've described in post previous to this as Caribbean people who are indigenous and aboriginal and organic to the planet actually, but also are returnees and repatriates to these islands and Europe, that without them and their descendants and the struggles that they had to go through, a bit of rain hit me in the face, through the 40s, 50s, 60s, so the riots here in the 50s that nobody talks about, nobody knows about, it's not part of the, it's raining on me, of the history, it's not part of the history, but equally the riots in the 80s, yeah, you know, in for me that was the first riots ever experienced in my life. Didn't know about the ones before. I know my parents were scrapping with teddy boys and stuff like that, but and having to defend themselves against, again, institutional racism and all kinds of crap. You know, when they got here, you know, I talk of my mother having to move from house to house every Friday because the landlord, that's what they did. They were making life very, very difficult. After Enoch Powell touring the Caribbean, asking people to come here. He knew what he was doing because he couldn't fucking do it, and we're in the same situation now because the migrant community groups that are here now are I'm anticipating that they're going to be facing deportation, yeah, just in the same way they are in the States. And yes, you can expect or not to expect your local police forces to be implementing that, but it's going to be happening, where there are forced deportations of migrants. I mean, it's connected to the repeal of the birthright bill. See, that was renounced by Trump a few weeks ago. Birthright citizenship. So it won't matter whether you've got citizenship or not. If you're not indigenous nor aboriginal to the lands that you're in, you've got to go. So, what that means, what I'm trying to say, it's not even so much about that. It's about the reason why they're able to come here in the first place. You know, it's because they receive the benefits and privileges that they are receiving. Hotels, mobile phones, and access to jobs, access to benefits, access to healthcare, all of which, I'm going to say, your nationals, your native born, i.e. born here before, born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, those that are native born here with descendants from Eastern Europe, I might add, but also from the Asian subcontinent. Some of those, and some people from the Caribbean too, actually, that are still in the process of obtaining or didn't obtain their citizenship legally and lawfully, they and their children are going to have to leave. Now, the issue for me is not about that really, it's about the fact that they know this. These migrant communities that have developed, that have emerged over the last 5 years, know what it is that they're doing. They are given instructions, and one of the instructions that they've been given, or the information that they are given, is about black people. They've been told not to engage with black people, to have nothing to do with black people, because they've been given the idea that we are, as an example, lazy, shiftless, corrupt, drug dealers, womanizers, etc, etc, etc. And this is why I personally have received little or no love from migrant community groups that have established themselves here under immigration rules and policies. Yeah, I've said it. And more and more people from the Caribbean are sort of waking up to the idea, but are wondering why it is that we are treated in such a way. As I say, we've been here so long and can't get nowhere, can't get by, treated like shit. So a lot of the experiences that the migrants, the illegal Latinos and the Asians and the, what do you call them, Mexicans that experience in America, I have no doubts coming here. And the African Americans are saying, or the so-called African Americans, the indigenous and aboriginal, are saying, well, we're tired, we've been doing this shit for ages. You know, the only reason why you're here is because of the work that we've already done. The pain, the suffering, the slaughter, the slavery, the redlining, the fucking delusional expectations that you have of, that has been had of us, given the condition that we've been deliberately placed in. The fact that we've been lied to, deceived, conned, if you will, into believing we are less than the people that have created this system, which I'm going to describe as white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestants, Zionists, Jews, whatever you want to call them. You know, they have to take responsibility and accountability for their shit. But before that comes about, it's going to be quicker and smoother and easier if it happens now. Because as melanated people start to wake up across the globe, this is what's happening. People are saying, fuck this shit, and beginning to recognise what's actually happening to them, and the people that have stood by and watched us get fucked, get effed in the A. So, and at the bottom of not the bottom, next to the top of all of this, are white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Now that they're suffering, you know, they're trying to blame the immigrants for it. You know what I mean? But you've allowed the immigrants to come here in the first place, participated and benefited from the same privileges and rights and benefits that they have. And now that you're not benefiting, you're screwing. Till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. I'm gone.